Welcome to the EntrePastors podcast on YouTube. This is a show that helps pastors think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of the EntrePastors podcast. Hey, my name's John Sanders. I'm one of the co-hosts of the show, and in just a moment, you're going to be introduced to the guest of our podcast today as my other co-host, Les Hughes, interviews Gwen Rutz. Now, Gwen has been with us from the very beginning of EntrePastors, and she is one of our success stories. We love what Gwen is doing. Today, we're going to share the story of how Gwen has, and her husband Troy, how they have built a business that for years has just been a dream of what it would be like someday to have this business and really turn one of our passions and hobbies into a thriving business. And that's exactly what they're doing. And by no means are we, Les and myself taking credit for that with EntrePastors, but we know that we played a role in that. Like, we were a catalyst in some ways, and we've provided some support for Gwen and her husband Troy to build this thing and launch it when they did. So I'm really excited to share this interview that Les and Gwen did together recently. So without any further ado, check out this interview with Gwen Rutz as she talks about taking a long-time dream and turning it into a thriving business. Here we go.
Well, Gwen Rutz, man, so good to see you. Thank you for agreeing to be on the EntrePastors podcast. How are you?
I am fantastic, and it is an honor. I know that you're at your 1 year mark, just past 1 year mark of EntrePastors, and congratulations to you and John. And it has been a ride, and it has really been fun watching EntrePastors evolve and get to watch it from the beginning. And I'm so proud of you guys and what you're building. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant. It's helped me tremendously. So thank you. And I am honored. It is a privilege to get to share this interview with you.
That's awesome. It has been fun. And you were one of the very, very first people to jump on board. And John and I both talk about this, and for so many reasons, you're just a poster person for the kind of people that not only get this message, but also are action takers. And you're okay with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we love it anytime that we're able to talk with you, or when we engage in the mastermind or in one of the community conversations. Your energy and enthusiasm and positive outlook on everything is very encouraging, and I know inspiring for others. So I know you, but many people that listen to this episode may not. So just give us an idea of where you and Troy, your husband, live, and what your background is, and what you've been doing up to this point.
All right. We live in Western Oklahoma, and we grew up in Oklahoma. Troy forever, me most of it. And we've been married for almost 37 years, got 2 sons, had 6 grandkids, wonderful family. Troy works in the natural gas industry. And so he's done that for almost 30 years now, I guess, in just various aspects of it. And I have been in ministry since I was about 12, probably. Played bass guitar. That's how I started out in ministry on the worship team. And I was a worship leader for about 25 years and pastored for about a little over 11 years and associate pastor. So I love the church. And that is that background. And we've been talking about, we're thinking about retirement. So that's kind of what moved us into bringing a dream from the back burner to the forefront as we prepare in that direction.
Well, and your perspective is very unique, and I hope that people that are listening to this will really lean in and listen, especially to some of the mindset matters that you and Troy have gone through, because you've got a unique perspective of doing these entrepreneurial endeavors while you were in still full-time employment at a high capacity church with a lot of things going on, but still able to have the bandwidth and the desire to do some things in the marketplace. And now during that time, you've actually transitioned out of, at least you're still in ministry, but not in full-time employment anymore. And so this is kind of a new day. So we have a lot to unpack, but I just have a sense that there are people, in fact, I know that there are people listening to this that are right where you have been, because you've been in many different places. So would you just talk about, just to get us going, talk about what you and Troy are doing in the marketplace, because so many of the people in our community, well, they're spread out. So we have some that are going down that informational path and using their intellectual property and their content to repurpose. And then we have some that are going down more of a e-commerce path, where they're doing some Amazon fulfillment and eBay or some kind of marketplace. And then we have really kind of service-based. You're doing a service, and that's the product itself. And you all fall, at least in part, in that latter category. So I'm interested to hear what was the catalyst of that? What was the seed thought that really got that going? Because I know it goes back a ways. And then how did you really take that to the marketplace to where you're now, seeing some growth?
Well, Troy has always been into archery. He got his first bow when he was about 3 years old, and he has always loved it. We got married right out of high school, and he has always wanted to have an archery range. And so we always thought, down the road sometime, it's just always been something that we wanted to do. And, but, it just, timing wasn't right and everything. And so as we start preparing for retirement, Troy said, well, we are country people. We love the country. We love living in the country. And when we moved to Clinton, which is where our last place that we pastored, where we just retired, that's a funny word, but resigned, ever how you want to say it, from that.
Transitioned.
It transitioned. That's so much better. Transition.
You somebody, a family member of ours says he'd redirected.
Yes, that's a good one. That's exactly what we did. So we finally found a place in the country. And so we thought, okay, we were looking for a place big enough to where we could have an archery range. And Troy, he wanted to get a few 3D targets together and just, have an archery club, get a few guys together and let's shoot some targets, of an evening or on a Saturday. And I said, well, if we're gonna buy targets and if we're gonna have people over anyways, we may as well make some money at it. I mean, we may as well pay for these targets somehow, that we're going to purchase. And so he said, yeah, sure, that would work. So it's kind of one of those things. My daddy is always like this. You give him an idea and he comes up with a better, let's really do this. That's kind of what it was. Troy said, hey, let's do this. And I said, well, so anyways, that's kind of how the business got started. And what's funny is that we were thinking about this at the same time I heard as EntrePastors was beginning. And so I thought, I'm just going to jump in here and I'm just going to learn for down the road when we start an archery business, then I'll have all this knowledge that I've gathered. Well, so then as I started that, one of you guys said, you should test the market. I thought, okay, that's a good idea. Let's just see if there's a market for archery out here. I mean, I knew there was because we're into it and we know people, but just let's see how far beyond us it is. And so we tested the market and it is definitely here. So I was thinking about this. We kind of accidentally started the business already. because it was going to be down the road, but it went so well that we have just kept going with it.
And so specifically what that looks like is some going into some schools and churches, or having groups to your home, to your farm / ranch compound, whatever it is that you call that. So you actually, there are classes that can be taken, and there are some other things probably, I'm sure, that are down the road, but somebody that's listening may want to come and book a group or something. We have pastors probably in your area that listen to this. So practically speaking, what's the business model sort of look like now?
So what we do is we host fun shoots and competition shoots for 3D archery once or twice a month, on a Saturday. And then we go attend others and we make connections, and we just like to go shoot, so we do that. And then also we give lessons here at the range. So we've done that. And then we also host an archery camp. The archery camp is probably one of my favorite. I don't know, it's all fun, but I love the archery camp because we had 20 kids signed up for that. And every once a week we got them together. We did it on a Wednesday night, and we took some of those kids had never shot a bow ever. And at the end of the 4 weeks, they were hitting the target, and it was so fun to do. And then, but one of our favorite aspects of that is that these bows that we shoot, because we provide all of the equipment, we provide the targets, we provide the bows, the arrows, the quivers, everything. And then, so we can take our camp to your location, and we set it up. And we use Genesis bows, which anybody can shoot, any draw length, any poundage. They fit everybody, from little bitty. We've got even little minis, like a 6-year-old could shoot.
And excuse me for interrupting you, Gwen, but for our listeners that might know a little bit about bows or hunting, these are not compound bows. They don't break down. These are long bows, correct?
Well, no, these have cams on them.
Okay.
Yeah, but they will fit anybody. It is a cam bow, but it will fit anybody. So these bows are so universal, and so that's what makes it so easy, to use with them. And so we've got a particular one that we use, and it's color coded to the plan of salvation. Genesis is a Matthews bow, very high quality, very good. And we're not partnered, but we've joined with Center Shot Ministries. And so they put out lesson plans. So in an archery camp, we go through and we'll have a lesson where we'll illuminate a scripture and we'll tie it into archery. And then after we do that, we'll go out and we'll have shooting time. We'll teach them, go through teaching them which eye dominance they are, and all the way through. So, and then we have a color-coded bow to the plan of salvation. And it is so exciting. As we're teaching them the parts of a bow, we also teach them the plan of salvation and how to know Jesus. And at the end of that, when Troy gave an invitation to give your heart to Jesus, we had 4 kids accept Christ as their Savior. It's like, yes, this is why we do this. You can take you can take a hobby and you bring Jesus into it, and you can make a difference through your hobby, through your business, whatever it is. Just put Jesus in it in just a natural, simple way. We were teaching them something they were interested in. They were enjoying shooting the bows. And now let's give them a spiritual application. And they just really take to it. And then when people come on site at the range, we show them that as well. And then we have 4-H groups that we've got a 4-H group coming because they've got block targets, but they don't have 3D targets. And so they're coming to practice. We've got another County 4-H group that we're going to go get them set up. And then our school system has just implemented archery in the school, a couple of them. And so they've contacted us and said, hey, if we need help, can you help us out with that? So we'll be able to host some competitions for them as their students learn and get more proficient at that. Then it'll be fun to have them out on the range and just host a competition for them.
You know, what you just described, Gwen, is one of the major reasons that we believe that pastors or people with a ministry background where their DNA is to serve others, and we're serving others for the sake of Christ and for the sake of the gospel. But that's who you are, right? So you can't just turn that off and on, not if it's genuine and if you're authentic. So it doesn't surprise me at all that as you were even doing this in the marketplace, that your heart for the gospel and your burden for people who don't know the Lord are manifested in this way. It just so happens that the platform's a little different now. You know, and the audience is certainly a little bit different, but to see the results, they're still the same results, which is changed lives. And we're pretty careful to also mention that it's not mandatory that you have those glasses on when a person with a ministry background goes into the marketplace, but most of the time it just happens because that's who we are. And if you think about it, the businesses that are the most effective and who have the most people know, love, and trust them are those who serve people. You know, it's all about serving others. So I know that there are many differences as well as the similarities, but we won't dig down into the weeds on this. But when John and I talk about a pastor using, or somebody with a ministry background using those giftednesses that, you know, that God has given us, as well as our experiences, life experiences and personalities and the way that we're wired, man, none of that is arbitrary. It's not random. God designs us in the way that he designs us, certainly for a reason. So that's so encouraging. So here's a question that I have, because I've heard you kind of refer to this before. You know, when I know you well enough to know that whatever you're involved in, you're going to be all in. And it sounds a little counterintuitive to say, because of the definition of what it means to be all in, that you can be all in with you and Troy in this endeavor, but you can also be all in just in a different way in a local church context. So go back a little bit. We'll talk about now in a bit, but go back, and it hadn't been that long ago since you redirected. So go back to where you were really balancing all those, or spinning all those plates, you know, balancing all those things, but it was still fun, right? And I know it's the pace is different, but what kinds of disciplines did you have from day to day to really be 100% wherever you were? Does that make sense? And I'm asking you that because I think that's what holds a lot of people back from becoming EntrePastors, because they're all in their ministry or in their, you know, in their church endeavors. And that's great. But sometimes, I mean, you know, we have a person in our community that was like that, but it was, and they didn't want to leave the church. They felt called there and they wanted to be out, but it was killing them to stay inside the walls of the church in the office all of the time. And so he went out and began many different ventures, and now he's serving so many more people. He's employing people in a very real and generous way. And some of the people that he employs, because of their background, weren't real employable, you know, in other kinds of businesses, or at least that was their experience. And now he's able to be very generous to them. So there's lots of possibilities there, but just go back and talk about what that was like and how doable it really is.
Well, it's doable. For one, my schedule is very flexible. So that's, you know, that's good. And I could just adjust around what I needed to do. But I have, as far as, I think it just takes a team for sure. That's what helps me. I have a team of people at church, not a large team by any means, but as I started preparing for whenever I would redirect, I really made sure that I had people in place at the church, because there was a time when everything was just laying on me, and I did a lot, and so I learned fairly quickly, you got to spread this out, but really about a year ago, I realized I've got to make sure I'm not going to pastor forever. Nobody is a pastor forever. I suppose most people, let's say most people aren't. Yeah. At some point, somebody's going to come in, right? Ever how you leave, at some point, there's going to be a next pastor. And it was really, really important to me to make sure that the church was set up in a way that everything wasn't dependent on me. So because I had set that up to where if we were gone, things ran smoothly. Everybody knew what to do and people could just carry on. And so as we began thinking about this business, which really we thought was going to be down the road, just like we thought redirecting was going to be farther down the road. But as we realized, things are really in good place now. We were so flexible. And I'm telling you, EntrePastors, we would be so far behind. We would not be nearly as far as we are right now if it were not for the community of EntrePastors and you and John in particular, especially. But having that team and the flexibility really, really helped us. And it was doable. Like, I really feel like I could still be doing it right now, but it's not what I should be doing right now. There was a switch. I heard somebody ask the question a while back, like, how do you know when it's time to transition out of that? And another pastor said, you just know, and there,
Yeah.
there is, I mean, you just know, but there are so many things that just led up to that we just knew because we prayed about it for quite some time, really for about a year. And then as it got closer and closer, to the time when we did redirect, so many things were falling into line there. And as we continued to pray about it, one morning I was speaking with a pastor friend of mine, and I was kind of telling them where we're at in our situation. And I just knew it's like the switch flipped and I knew it. Now is the time to redirect. And Troy had called me from work that afternoon, and he said, you know what? He said, driving to work this morning, he said, that it's time, isn't it? I said, yep, that's exactly. I mean, we knew. And if you ask God, he will tell you. You just be patient and do the things all along the way to prepare, because he never puts something in your lap if you're not prepared for it. So it's the preparation and ever what it is that God asks of us and calls us to do, whether it's to stay and be full-time pastors and do this at the same time, he would equip us to do that. But for us, it was time to redirect. And, we had just people came to the church because they met us through archery, and things like that. And so it's beneficial all the way around. Had we stayed, God would have enabled us to do that. But you have to move in the direction that God moves you at the time.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And, we appreciate that plug, especially. I'll Venmo you the money that we talked about. And you said that just like we wrote it. No, I'm just kidding about that. Thank you for saying that.
100%.
You're very kind.
Fact.
You're very kind. Thank you. We're just so pleased that things are going as well as they are with you all. And that's not all. So, but wait, there's more. All right. So what I like to do, I don't want to get down. There's something that happened a few years ago that encouraged you that there might be more and there may be something else. And this is a perfect example, everybody, of the fact that it's nice to start. In fact, it's wise to start with one thing and really put your attention on one thing. The illustration we use is that if you've got a stone wall or a brick wall that you're needing to drill through, a small, narrow, very sharp bit gets through that wall the quickest. And then once you are through, you can go to a bigger bit and then expand that hole. But if you want to get through there quickly, do it with laser focus. And so that's what you all have done. Now that you've had some success there and there's some momentum and it's growing, you're still giving attention to that, but there's something else now that is kind of raised to the surface that you seem pretty excited about, and I think you should be. So I want to talk about that some, but not the thing that you did earlier that showed you that it was possible. We'll save that for the backstage portion, because there's something you could do that anybody really listening that wants to go into this world, it's very doable, and you can know rather quickly whether there's potential there. So just talk about your idea now, really more than an idea, your platform that you're really getting ready to bring online now with ladies and mentoring them some and leading them. So share some of that as well, because I think that's real promising.
Well, I love talking to women over their 50, women in their 50s. And this is what I hear from them. It's like, it's downhill from here, all the aches and pains. We're just getting older. We're just getting older. And so many women get in that mindset of, now that I'm in my 50s, it's just like, we got to settle for something. And I'm like, no, you don't have to just settle. Let's keep living. Let's keep moving. Let's keep challenging ourselves. Let's keep pushing ourselves. Troy told me the other day, like, I think he just shakes his head at me sometimes, because we were going to go out on a date, and we were trying to decide where to go. And I said, I saw this advertisement on Facebook. I said, there's an extreme motorsports thing, like where they jump, and do all these acrobatic things with motorcycles and stuff. I said, we could go do that. And he said, who says that? What woman wants to go on a date and go there and do that? I said, but it just sounds, do things that you have never done before. That's what I think. Just expand your horizons. Think of doing things, learn something new, do something different. And I want to speak to, say, like the 40 and up, because the 40s aren't quite, they're not there yet, but the 50 people are. But so I want to tell the 40, don't do that. Keep going, keep staying active, keep pushing yourself, and don't just settle into a routine. Routines can be nice, but do something different. I always say, I told Troy, I said, what is on my bucket list? I've told this probably 500 times anyway to him. I said, my dream, my bucket list, I've had 2 of them. I want to go up in a hot air balloon, but I want to go on an African safari, and I want to be surrounded by elephants and giraffes and lions. And I want to be in nature like that. I like new experiences. And so that's what I want to tell women in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s is, do something new and don't just settle.
And that's so good. By the way, when you're ready for that Africa trip, I know a guy. I'm just saying. I'm saying, when you're ready, let's go. And you know what? Lord willing, he's going to be a part of he's kind of already an EntrePastor, but he's going to be a part of our community very soon. And just as a tease, we've got an announcement about that, John and I do, in the near future, but I'll save that for another time. But yep, we know a guy. And also, let's see, there was something. Oh, I'll give you an encouragement. In my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, are you ready for this?
Yes.
It's when we roll and do all of that, it's guys with guys, but there are a few females in there too, and so they kind of pair up as well. You ready? There is a 73-year young lady in there. Her name is Elaine. And I think she's a gray belt, which is a pretty up. That's one of the upper, degrees. But hey, 73, and she is right there, just with everybody else. So I think you're onto something. So tell me, we're going to wrap up here in a moment, and then for our backstage portion, you're going to talk very specifically about what happened a while back, where you were actually able to monetize your message in a very specific way that gave you that was at least affirmation that something like this could happen. And we believe that you're going to be able to scale this and are going to be very pleased with the results. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe it's a couple that are working on putting together a business, some kind of thing together, and they want to reach out to you and or have a conversation with you and Troy about some things that worked for you all to do that. We didn't even talk about how you navigate the whole being married and in business together. Maybe that'd be for a different episode. But if they want to reach out to you, or it might be a lady that fits into one of those age groups that you mentioned, one of those categories that you mentioned, that's interested when this is up and going officially, how can they reach out to you?
They can contact me through my email, Gwen Rutz at Gmail, GwenRutz@Gmail, or look me up on Facebook, Gwen Link Rutz, and message me, friend me, whichever. Contact
There
me.
you go. There you go. All right, Gwen. Well, listen, thank you so much for being a part of our community. Thank you as well for being willing to come over here and have this conversation.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Okay.
Well, hey, thanks for watching this episode of the EntrePastors podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time we release a new episode. If you'd like to get connected to other pastors who are learning to think, act, and thrive as prosperous entrepreneurs, then we invite you to check us out on Facebook. Just search for the EntrePastors Connect group, answer a few of our simple questions there, and we'd love to include you in the conversations. And if you're really ready to go to the next level, then we invite you to join our EntrePastors membership community. When you become a monthly subscriber, you will receive access to courses, exclusive community, and coaching that will help you along in your own EntrePastors journey. If there's anything else we can do to serve you, please visit us at EntrePastors.com, and we will do our best to serve you there. God bless everybody. See you soon.